We are starting off our second meeting. We don't have any presentations this month. Like I said, next month we're gonna have somebody from SMART come through and talk about the SMART transportation program just to get more information. Hopefully we have a lot more input from this side of the room for this meeting so that you have a chance to address any concerns that you have or anything you weren't able to mention last time. I know on our side we have a couple of township updates, but in the first two, I added them on the agenda here because they were pieces of interest that I've kind of heard mulling about and you know, our senior folks are talking about. So any of you are welcome to address in any order. Correct.
Brad?
You want to fire off?
Sure, I can do the update part of it.
Yeah, do the update.
So we
then.
have, the three things that we talked about last time were the toilets, the multi-purpose room blinds, and the parking lot. So you'll see on the next agenda, which is tomorrow evening for the board, the striping of the parking lot is being done. So those bus lanes will disappear, that parking lot will move forward, it'll be resealed and restriped with the approval from the board on that one. So that's an exciting one to see.
Can I add something?
Sure.
Oh,
Is it related to the parking lot?
Yes.
Of course.
I would like to know how many, parking spots you are adding by moving it up. I went out there and I counted you could add at least 24 if you put an extra row forward.
Yeah, the plan is to take that first row that is currently the handicap and scoot it forward into the bus lane, so those two bus lanes would disappear. I am not the engineer, I do not know exactly how many spots there are.
I think Josh will address it. I think it was about 20-25 that he
Yeah,
added.
for that front row.
And then the front lane where, next to the curb lane, that'll remain in place. That'll be the through lane. Basically, everything is coming forward. They do have to, there is a fire code or a building code. They've got a handicap, they've got to address that. There's gonna be so many, so that'll be included in it. But
Well, that's not.
your number's about right, and
About
again.
25 more spots closed,
Mhm.
because that was one of the concerns of the seniors.
Yeah.
Otherwise, when we start parking, we end up on Sugar Bush Road, especially if we're doing a party.
Mhm.
A lot of them, and by the time they walk in, they can
Already
barely make
walking
it to
around,
back
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So I can tell them when they ask me about 25 extra spots, that
Yeah,
includes seniors.
a rough number. And just so you know, our other discussion too, we did look, not to wander, well, to wander off on parking again, we did look to add parking spots along the side here. Fire department doesn't like it.
Yeah, yeah.
But we are looking, we've got the playground out back here.
Mhm.
There may be some things we can do to add even closer parking. I mean, that's gonna take a little bit longer, but we're looking at it.
Yeah, not in this.
That's a good
Perfect.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's a
thank
good
you.
start.
Mhm.
So that one's, it's on the, to the board for tomorrow night, so you'll see that come through.
Great.
Second thing we talked about was toilets, so those two toilets that are in the individual stalls have been replaced, they are now comfort height, so you'll see those raised up. And they're new and they're both installed now. The multi-purpose blinds, we got a quote for this past week on those. What the facilities has gone forward with is tinting the top half and blinds on the bottom half, so it provides two pieces, the sun from coming in, but then also the privacy piece that a lot of groups wanted as well, for especially the evening programs, they noticed they wanted the privacy back
And we've
there.
all seen the three pieces
The
up there.
options of tint on there,
Everybody's
yeah, so everyone's
discussing
voted.
Yeah, we see it coming.
Yeah, so they're out there and they've given us a quote first, and I think we had, I forget how many quotes or companies came out, but we talked to several companies and that company works well to do it, and it's relatively inexpensive for what they're able to get.
You didn't like the cardboard that we had up
The
there?
cardboard will not be lasting, that will not be a long-term solution. So at least those three things we can quickly address
They
it.
really tore them down.
Yep.
Once it
Yeah,
really
we
was
know,
the-
we know.
Yeah,
I don't know who
Staff.
did it, but I saw they
didn't do
were
it.
coming.
The staff here.
oh yes, yeah, thank you. The other piece of something that we pulled from the last meeting was that help to get the cards up and down, card tables up and down, we have done that. I think we missed one time because there was a miscommunication and no one thought, everyone thought the other person was taking care of the work order and it didn't happen. But for every other day, we have up and down and that's been working, good.
It worked out.
So yeah, now we have somebody
Yes.
standing
Bingo
Tuesday,
today.
Thursdays, they're here.
I did bingo today.
Yeah.
So, table full.
Getting a little.
When you set them up, you didn't have them set
I
for you?
set them up and took them down.
Yeah,
That's
Michelle
all
did-
right.
Yeah, for a while, we
Take
didn't
note
set
of
up
it.
everything.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other items, I'll have you guys point to a little bit more community center purchase that it's
So,
official.
the purchase is done, the building is ours, we closed on it last week. One of the issues we did run into, was, there was a Head Start program here, about 50 kids, 50 underprivileged kids, that, you know, I'm not gonna blame anybody, it was just, it's been here, it's been entrenched here so long that Anchor Bay really didn't know, they didn't pay attention, I don't wanna speak for them. But what happened was that program ended up going, hey, what about us after we close? So, we met with them, they do want to retain some portions of the building, but just recently Anchor Bay came back to us, and because they are doing renovations in their building that has kind of fallen behind on construction, they would like to release some of the north wings here. Some of the space that they're still in, what's that?
What you already rented. two
Yeah,
rooms
what
out.
they're,
So
what they've
they-
already occupied. So we're gonna have some discussions with them. They only need it for 1 year. And again, where it comes from is the state mandate of free Head Start and some of the growth in their population, and then their construction timelines for what they're trying to achieve at renovations at other buildings. It's just not gonna fit, so they approached us last week, can we release, can we entertain it for a year? And what I'd like to do is just give them that whole north side, it's already, they have their facilities already there, their programming already there, so, we'll bring that back to the board once we get the language and the lease turned out. It'll probably be just a reverse of what we paid them, when we were leasing the building from them.
What- With Anchor Bay possibly coming back, is that buses?
Yeah, there will be buses, but it's more cars than anything. And their programming is very isolated to Chesterfield Township residents, so
Then how are you gonna get rid of
The bus lanes doesn't change the bus lane.
does not,
They will be dropping curbside.
Right, right at
The buses are gonna drop at the curb.
Correct.
yeah.
And what time are the buses gonna drop?
I don't have the particulars on when that.
Are you gonna figure that out before you say yes? Is that gonna
Oh, yeah,
interfere with
yeah,
the
we'll get
students
those
coming and going and fighting the buses while
No,
they're trying to get in here?
they've been very accommodating, it's not something that I would really worry about, it's not gonna impact how we park and what, they know we're redesigning the parking lot, they fully understand it. And I don't think we're talking about a lot of kids.
It doesn't matter to me. My problem is, all of you decided to turn this this school into a community center. You bought it with taxpayers' money, my money, a lot of money. You're renovating it with a lot of my money. Now you're letting Head Start back in here, which we weren't asked about, but you're letting them back in here. I know they need a place to go, but now it seems to me like you are turning this community center back into a school. That's the way I look at it. You didn't ask us, and the seniors today that I talked to, they're upset about it. You didn't ask us, but we're upset about it, I'm upset about it, because you purchased this with our taxpayer money, you're turning it back into a school. Now you're letting Anchor Bay come back for 1 year, for only 1 year, they say, because they need it. Now you're bringing more kids, you're bringing 51 children from Head Start back in, now you're bringing more kids in. It's not just the parking lot, it's the fact that, I'm sorry, but this is a community center. Outside there, the building says it says Sugar Bush Elementary Community Center. It doesn't say community center / school. Why are you bringing it back as a school? This is a community center. It's no longer a school. You signed that paper in July. It's no longer a school. That's how we feel. The residents today were very upset. I made up a lot of these sheets and turned it out to the seniors to read. First of all, this is really insulting to us seniors.
Which sheet is that? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know
From
what
the
you're talking about.
newspaper.
Oh, that's the voice art.
This is the voice, that was Macomb Daily.
This is the voice, and it's very insulting to us seniors. It's not your fault. Mr. King says that us seniors need to interact with these Head Start students to make us feel focused and young again. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't need.
We're getting away from babysitting our
I don't
grandkids.
need 5-year-old children to make me focused and young again. And another thing, I don't know why he said this. I would have to write to the paper because it's a total lie. These kids come in, they're in lockdown. We all know that. We don't interact with these kids.
Yeah.
You
don't
can't
even look at you.
I don't
It's
know.
not your fault, but we can't interact with them if we wanted to, which we don't.
Yeah,
And
I don't,
even your other trustee,
Let
when
me-
you talk to
can
her,
I-
she's
can I-
in here too.
Say
can I
that,
Your
clarify?
other trustee, Kathy, she thinks it's a wonderful idea. She needs to know, we do not interact with these students. We
Can-
can't interact with them if we want to.
Let me clarify.
So,
I wanna be clear with something, just so,
yeah.
there are two different programs. They aren't, it's not a school. This is a Head Start program for the, from, through the ISD, that was always allowed here. That is what the gentleman that you're referring to that
When we were
spoke.
a school, we're not
What's
a
that?
school. He was
Well-
allowed here when we were a school. We're not
Correct.
a school.
Let me be clear, I get your point, I understand what you're trying to say, but that entity operated here is separate from Anchor Bay, just worked under their umbrella power. It's a separate group. The Anchor Bay lease is for their Head Start program and early fives that live in this community. So both programs serve residents of Chesterfield Township. They are either through the school
I understand.
or they are through the ISD or Macomb County. They both want to occupy spaces that were already here and spaces that we at this point don't have plans for. So the discussion that we had, we would either shut it down and be dormant at the north end because we don't have programming that's expanded that far yet, or, and just not heat it, turn the air conditioning off and just leave it be. So they've asked, again, it's a state of flux where the school ran into some problems. The Head Start program ran into some issues, and they're simply asking us to accommodate them in an existing building that, to your point, is a school. We're transitioning it into a community center. Both entities are willing to pay. They will pay.
That isn't even my point. I don't care if they're willing to pay or not.
Oh, well,
We're turning this back into the school
Well,
is my point.
my-
And if you're thinking that, oh, this building is so big that, we're not using it anyway, then why did you buy it if you think it's too big for us? Why did you build us a smaller community center? Why
Because
did
we
you
couldn't
buy-
afford
why
it,
did you
not
do-
because we couldn't afford it.
Yeah, but can you afford this building that you're gonna have to redo?
Sure could.
Yeah,
Sure
and-
could.
And how much are you spending in order to redo this whole building?
Oh, Right now, about $50,000, we're about $50,000 into the
No,
operation.
Okay, well, whatever. It doesn't matter.
If I-
Well, it does-
You
it does.
If I could just
You
add-
already made your decision anyway, so
No,
it's nothing that
no,
can
I
say.
didn't.
It's going to the
I
board.
didn't. It'll come to the
The
board
Head
tomorrow.
Start
I don't
will
wanna,
come to the board tomorrow.
I
don't
know
wanna
it's coming
interject.
before the board, but you've already decided what you're doing.
well, I can assure you I didn't.
Well, maybe you have it.
Let me just, if I
There's two
could.
members on the board that really stick up for the seniors, the rest of you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure which two that you're
I
talking
know
about.
which two, I think we do too, but.
What I can tell you, when it came to the board 2 weeks ago, the representative that came forward that spoke about the Head Start program, my quote in the article, I was concerned about how much communication there had been with the seniors. And I verbalized to that individual that I hadn't heard from the seniors about their take, and everything that I had heard was really a concern about trying to take senior programming, jam it into the community center, and then it doesn't really accommodate them. So the very first meeting that we had, we identified a number of issues which we got to work on before we left this room. When the Head Start program showed up, I said very clearly, and there were a number of people that came to the podium that said, one in particular who said, well, I don't know what all this talk about the seniors, I know the seniors and they don't need anybody to speak for them. And I don't agree with that. I think that there is a room for advocacy for the seniors if you're talking about communication. And the biggest problem that I heard from our very first informal meeting to our meeting here last month was, we would like to know what's going on. We don't want to find out about it after the fact. Yeah, and getting all of the rumors and getting a direct pipeline to the seniors. That was the genesis of this body. That's why we formed it. So when the Head Start director showed up. After that meeting, it was really a fortuitous opportunity, but my administrative assistant where I work at the county has a friend at the Head Start program. They said, they reached out to her, and they said, hey, why is Joseph against Head Start? She came to me and she said, why are you against, I said, I'm not against Head Start in any way. I don't know anybody who is against Head Start, but let me tell you the problem. We have a perfect storm of things that have impacted our seniors. So we have a building renovation in a small senior center that they were very comfortable and content in. They were relocated to the community center. The building has a number of challenges that aren't real helpful to them, from the flooring to the toilet, on and on. The plan is, and I believe that it happens. I don't know that it'll happen in November, but I believe that this is a temporary home for the bulk of senior programming, and that your home is back on township property. That is the goal. That is what we are all operating from. So we're talking about temporary accommodations here that we have an obligation to make the best of. When I say we, I mean me. So I said to the individual that wanted to know why I was against senior programming, set up a meeting. They sent their whole team in today. I met with them today, and I said, I know that it's in front of the board tomorrow. I'm not able to support the Head Start program, and I don't know what the rest of my board does, because I don't have we don't straw poll and find out who's voting what. I can just know if it impacts the seniors, I'm a no vote. And it has nothing to do with the value of Head Start. As I said in the article, hospitals are great too, but I don't want one at the community center because we have senior programming there, and they're already displaced from their original home. So the first question I had was about the bus traffic. This particular program has no bus service. They don't require bus lanes, they don't require you to dodge buses to park, and they are completely separate from the parking problem that we have. The other thing that I didn't know, and I learned through this meeting, was in order to have a Head Start program, whether it's in a school, or in a church, or in a community center, this is a completely separate funding stream that is paid by grants. So all of the county employees that administer the Head Start program are grant funded, and part of the grant requirements is they have to meet certain conditions, one of which is that they have to be sight and sound separated from whatever is going on in the rest of the building. You don't want 4-year-olds in a building with 6th graders, and you don't want them on the same recess or lunch tables, and so they have a very extensive licensing program that comes in and audits the building, the location itself. They've been operating here for, I believe, 13 years in 3 classrooms that are completely separate from the anchor-based school system. They are not affiliated with the anchor-based school system, except that they were tenants in an Anchor Bay building. So what I think happened is, as they were communicating to me, they found out late, very late, from their landlord, in essence, the Anchor Bay school system, that said, oh, by the way, and then they've been following, they know that the building was sold, but they were under the impression that they had a home here, and they didn't. There were no agreements that said we will extend Head Start classrooms to the county until July. Last month, their licensing requirements, if the board votes no on the Head Start program, they don't have the ability to just go to another building. They can't just rent space, even if they went to an anchor-based school. The licensing has to come out and make sure that those children are separated from the operations of the host building. So this whole idea of you guys lying awake at night dreaming about interacting with children at your exercise was kind of filler. It was fluff. It wasn't true, because the only way that you can get into that classroom, if you wanted to, if you just stormed the classroom and said, let us in, you would have to be vetted and background checks, because you can't be they couldn't be in compliance with licensing and allow un-background checked people in there. So, from the parking to the disruption of any of your programming, the only thing that I was, disappointed in, and I don't know how it could have been done differently, because, Brad says that he doesn't want to point fingers. I'll tell you, I'm a little disappointed that the school district didn't give these Head Start people more direction in terms of what will happen to your students in the fall. They should have been prepared when we leased the building and began to show interest in the purchase of the building to finding a new home. I don't think from the Head Start people that I met with that they are relying on the community center being their school in perpetuity. I think that they would ultimately like to get back into a relationship with an elementary school. And I said today to they had two program directors and one of the instructors who works in the classroom. And I said, when my kids went to Head Start, the beauty of the Head Start was that they were in the building that they would be going to kindergarten in, and they got to meet and get somewhat acclimated and familiar with the kindergarten curriculum. I don't know, we can't provide that in a community center. We're literally just providing a classroom, and this is not optimum for them either.
So I have a question now.
Yeah.
So if the board approves of them coming, are you gonna approve of them coming and let this gentleman know that this is for 1 year and that he has a whole year to find another place?
Yeah, that was the discussion.
Or are you gonna lease it like forever?
I'm only one vote. I'm only one vote.
No, if.
But
if-
in my,
if-
in-
Can
Are you going to let?
The agreement,
understanding
the
that
agreement
He'll have a
is,
year
It's
to
a 1
find
year.
another place?
the agreement is for 1 year at a time.
Okay.
We are talking about 1 year.
I know.
That's it.
Cause I feel bad
Let
for
me
these
ba- I'm-
kids, these kids need a
okay.
place to go, I don't want to feel that they're not gonna have a place to go, that's not, I'm like you, these Head Start kids, they need a place to go. But my problem is, if this is a community center, it should be a community center, and if they need a place for 1 year, I don't have a problem with that. But I would hate to think that if they're here for a year, that means they're here for another year and
Yep.
another year. If
Yep.
he's got a year, I think this gentleman needs to figure out within a year to find him another place.
Well, I told-
Anchor Bay,
I
too.
told him today-
If
I told him
Anchor Bay's
today-
here, they better get their,
I
what
told
together
him
and
today.
get out.
I told him today, and we just got to the nitty-gritty of it. All of the discussions about the senior interacting and there's tremendous amounts of research when you take small children into nursing homes. You could make the argument that he was trying to make. My argument is that our seniors are our residents and they're also our customers. They're coming in and you are a customer in the sense that you're not only paying taxes, but you're also paying for the instructors and the classes that you take. And you should be, for your tuition or your class participation, you should be in a building that accommodates your needs without having to walk 2 miles. And so there are things about the building that aren't optimum. I can tell you, after doing my own research, and the only other piece that I wanna investigate is to talk to our township attorney and make sure that we don't have any increased liabilities or such like that with the contract. But from everything that I can tell, and it's not just me telling you something that made me want, from a licensing standpoint, there is no interaction with a joint, you're not going to share space because none of this,
There's health issues involved. I mean,
Especially in the winter.
what senior wants to be around a 5-year-old? I mean, you're 70, 80,
Yeah,
9-year-old, you don't want, they're walking germs.
Yeah,
You don't
well,
wash
there's
your
no,
hands.
there's no,
I mean-
there's no way that they can operate with a porous setting that would allow children to interact with,
No.
the seniors, which again, even if
Parents
you
wouldn't
wanted
want
to,
us. They don't know us.
nobody wants unvetted and unbackground
No.
checked with, 4-year-olds.
Parents would have a fit if they thought.
So,
they
so
were
licensing sets those, gatekeeping things around it. And again, the communication was the key, and making sure that people knew what, I found out, and I know Trustee Demink was making some calls to people in the county that he knows to try to find out, what is this arrangement that we are, I feel personally, and I asked the director today, the board votes no, what happens to the 51 children? And they stay at 100% enrollment. They have a waiting list. They can only accommodate 51 students. I don't know if it breaks down to 17 or whatever per classroom, but they have very strict limits on the student to teacher ratio and the supervision. These are small kids that require a lot of adult supervision. So they're only able to accommodate 51. These are not the emotionally impaired
Not
kids.
challenged?
No, these are not the emotionally impaired kids that were part of the Anchor Bay School
Yeah.
District.
Okay.
This is the Head Start. These are pre-kindergarten,
More English
students.
driven.
Preschool.
Yes, this is
Not
not the special needs kids that was part of the Anchor Bay. This is a county program. It is not affiliated with the school district in any way except they paid rent, in essence, to the school to house the Head Start program here. It's a completely separate program. I guarantee you that you would not have known that they're even here because of the way they enter the building. They don't have bus service, and they don't gobble up massive amounts of parking, and their classrooms are contained intentionally because they can't have adults or anybody else that isn't been vetted through the Head Start program in the classroom. Their relationship is they are aware that this is not a school any longer. This is a community center, and the mission is to convert that to community center. And right now, our senior programming takes up a good chunk of that, and that's where all of our energy is going towards to make sure that the transition back, one, is as quick as possible and is less impacting. This does not impact you. This Head Start will not impact you.
And we don't care if we're going back to the other place.
Your time with them will be relatively small in the, in terms of their school year, because we know that even if the construction overruns go, you're gonna be back home, well before their school year is even, halfway over, so.
And just so you folks know, it's like, you're here temporarily, we keep telling you that, and we are.
Okay, that's.
Wait, hold on, let me finish, Mary. Hold on, please let me finish. This Head Start thing, but there still is other programming going in this building for other kids, regular kids. So it's not just the seniors, it's other kids that come in here, so we're sharing. But once you're done, you will go back there. Now, there's been a couple comments, and I don't remember which lady spoke the last night. They like some of the rooms here. It worked out better for this or that. Even though you have your special flooring over at the other room, but there was a couple of you that made mention, I don't recall which one, that you liked it here. So, we're still gonna mix it up some if the seniors are, with the seniors, but you also have to understand, there's other kids, not like special needs or anything, but other kids programming that's going on in this building along with the seniors. So I mean, it's a little bit of, both.
We
I
see
mean, we
'em all
can't just say,
right.
we would love to have our own building, but like I said, with all the renovations going at the township, once we get that done and all the election stuff, we'll be back over there. But like I say, for a little bit, that's why there's all these problems with the other kids, like I don't know what's going on here tonight, Michelle, but they have different programs and stuff like that, so we just gotta learn, like, we gotta share a little bit here till we get all the bugs worked out, and once it's done, you folks will be going back over to the township complex where your senior center is there. Okay?
Yeah, that's another problem with a lot of the seniors. Well, you wanted us to talk to the seniors to see what they're unhappy about and what they're happy about. And a lot of them are concerned that they're starting not to trust that we are going back. And then some of them are concerned because, okay, you're talking about, why are you spending all this money to fix this floor for us to exercise in when you're saying we're going back over there?
My suggestion on the flooring was that the flooring is portable. I wasn't looking for a permanent flooring solution for seniors.
Okay, is that gonna be really, I hate to cut you off, but is
Yeah.
that gonna be really expensive?
No,
And how is that gonna work? You're not that smart about that stuff. Are you suggesting like we exercise 5 days a week, that her staff is gonna lay a floor down and then pick it up and lay a floor down and pick it
well,
up?
it's my vision and what the products that I had looked at, and I don't know if we're at the part of the agenda with flooring, but the idea that I had was a relatively inexpensive portable mat. And the first thing that Michelle told me after is like, where do we get the staff? And that's when we were talking about having dedicated staff to set up the room.